Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, we talk about all things fandom on this channel, and we talk about it all in a positive way. If that's something that appeals to you, you've come to the right place. We're so happy to have you here today, and today happens to be Sci-Fi Sunday on this channel, where we talk about all things sci-fi, fantasy, and comic book related. And today we're going to be talking about Peacemaker Season 2, Episode 1, and this will be our review of that episode. So there will be spoilers. Let's jump right into it. Alright, so if you haven't seen Peacemaker Season 1, you might want to check it out. However, it is definitely not for kids, and this is not the family fare that Superman is. This is a very different tone, and that's what James Gunn promised us when he started the DCU. He said it's going to have a very different tone, and when he was given the choice to make Peacemaker the series, he had taken that on at the time under the DCEU. But he kind of had his ideas for how to make Peacemaker interesting. And Peacemaker was not a very interesting character in the comics. He is a fan favorite of some, and I get that. But he has always been somewhat of a character that hasn't been very well known. He's a bit more obscure. And there's a reason for that. Peacemaker oftentimes just comes across as a vigilante. And when you have something like that in a comic book, it doesn't always work. They have to have some sort of attitude, some sort of thing that drives them. And I've never been a big fan of the Peacemaker comics, mainly because it never really interested me. But once Peacemaker was in the movie The Suicide Squad, all of that changed. James Gunn sort of took this character and gave him this comedic edge. Sure, he was a misfit, he was vile, he's profane, he is not a superhero in any traditional sense. But that's what makes this series work, is that it takes the superhero comic that Peacemaker is based on and spins it out of control, making him into something else. And the first season, like I said, is definitely not for kids. So you wouldn't expect the second season to be either. Now, we're going to be talking about everything that sort of happened in this. So first off, I do want to remind you that this is a spoiler review. The episode opens up, of course, with the previously on Peacemaker. And it shows us previously, except there's a difference. Right away, there's a difference. The Peacemaker Season 1 was part of the DCEU, something that no longer exists. And if it does, it is still an alternative reality. So you could make the argument right here that Peacemaker Season 2 is this alternative reality of the events of Peacemaker 1. So everything in Peacemaker 1 went down exactly the way it did, except for there was no Justice League. There was the Justice Gang. And instead of seeing the Justice League at the end of the episode, we get to see the Justice Gang. And we get to see Supergirl floating there too. Now, that's a really cool thing. It's a nice touch. It's there to sort of make us think, did Season 1 take place in the DCEU? Yes. So is Season 2 now in a different dimension? Quite possibly. And we'll get into that a little bit more in a minute because I have a theory. So one night, Peacemaker doesn't actually want to take Eagle outside, so he opens up the door to the quantum chamber that he's been using as a storage area. His father, Augie Smith, had created this, and we kind of knew this had happened. But what he finds in here is all these other dimensions, which we assume he knew they existed, but he actually stumbles into one. He walks into one of them and finds his father, Augie Smith, alive. And not just alive, he is now a superhero. So right there, it sets the tone for his possible redemption and maybe even the way that the series might end, with him realizing that he can be a hero if this alternative version of his father is. The whole thing seems to be leaning towards him being a better person. And what happens is that 6 months later, Chris Smith, Peacemaker, goes to try to apply for the Justice Gang. And of course, they have the mic on. We've seen this scene in the trailers. They sort of make fun of him. He ends up walking out very disappointed because he's like, I saved the world. I want to be a hero. I want to be taken seriously, and nobody's taking him seriously. Despite what happened in the first season, the girl he likes doesn't seem to really want a relationship. Now, from this point, he actually does what we expect. He has a meltdown. He ends up having a party. All these naked people running around doing horrible things. But, you know, it's within the wheelhouse of this character. It's what you need to expect from him. He has this meltdown where he just goes into the worst parts of him, where he's not going to be a superhero. He's not going to do anything productive because what he knows is that this universe that he's in is horrible. It doesn't treat him right. It doesn't take him seriously. And he wants to be a part of a world where his father is a hero. He goes back into this area. Now, meanwhile, we see what's going on with the rest of his friends, and they all seem to be kind of equally unhappy. And that's kind of a key here. They're not happy with their current situation. But the thing of it is that he also has Rick Flag Sr., who's basically on his trail. Now, what ends up happening in the episode is he returns to the alternate reality, and his brother Keith is alive and also a superhero. And this is important because this means that he's happy. He gets the chance to legitimately be happy. Not only is his father alive, not only is his brother alive, but his brother is a superhero too. This is amazing. This is the life he feels he should be living. So, you know, he's going to keep going back. He's going to risk everything to be a part of this world. He has everything in this other reality. So what ends up happening, of course, is that the real Peacemaker from that universe comes back, and it results in that Peacemaker's death. This Peacemaker actually dies in his arms. Now, I love this episode because, like I said, yes, it's not for children. But I do have a theory as to why the change happened. Why all of a sudden the Justice League was replaced with the Justice Gang. And that is that we are viewing it from this current Peacemaker's reality. Now, the reality he visits is not the reality that exists in the Justice League. His father was never alive in that universe like he was in season 1. But he also wasn't alive in this world either, in this universe. So he found a universe that sort of exists where now he found a way to be happy. But is this the real DCU? Or is the one he's living in the real DCU? Because we don't know the answer to that question as of the end. But that's my personal theory, is that basically he knows that he can be happy in this universe, this little universe he finds, in a way that he's never going to be happy anywhere else. But then it all falls apart. The real Peacemaker shows up and he has to kill him. So now he's stuck. Does he take this one's place? And is this the new DCU that he's going to be going into? I almost don't think it is. I think that the DCU is what we're seeing as it opens up, with the Justice Gang sort of making fun of him, with everything going down exactly the way it did in the previous season where everything wasn't going his way. I think that this is an ongoing thing for him, and I think that in most universes he's going to find that this is his life. So finding one that was absolutely perfect, I think, is to show him that there's no place like home. Because as much as we like to have a better life, if you do have a better life, think of all the things that you absolutely miss. His friends aren't the same in that world. Everything that he knows is not the same in that universe. And that's what ultimately he has to discover in this season. That's my theory anyway. And I love this show because it's so different from everything else. And I respect that the new DCU is going to take those chances. It's going to have one show be for children and one show be for adults specifically. And one show could be really brutally realistic. The other could be just totally out there and insane. And another one could just be wholesome science fiction fun. Everything that you want, that you could ask for, seems to be up for grabs in the new DCU. And being that all of that is up for grabs in the new DCU, that's what's going to make everything super exciting. Imagine it's like this. You want a more serious tone. Well, presto, one of these could be a more serious toned show. In fact, I think that this is the way that they could bring back the Snyderverse should they ever want to. Sure, I don't think the Snyderverse is ever coming back, but if it were going to come back, this whole universe thing, all these multi-universes are the way to do that. I believe that through one of these doors, the Batman movie with Robert Pattinson is there. I believe that in one of these doors, you have the Flash where he altered time. I believe that all of these things exist within these doors. That's my personal theory on it. I think that they've done this intentionally. I think that this is a way to keep Elseworlds, and the DCU will always remain the DCU. That's why I say that ultimately what I think has to happen is that he has to figure out that there's no place like home. Because as long as he's going to figure out there's no place like home, he's going to be okay. But that is going to be the lesson of this season, I think. I think that's where they're going. Now, that is my review for this episode, for the first episode of Peacemaker Season 2. That's where I'm going to leave it off to you guys. I want to know all of your thoughts on it. If you have seen this first episode, what did you think? And also, let's talk about the DCU itself. What do we expect from it? What do we want to see more of? What would we like them to not have in the DCU? Because there is no wrong answer here. All film and TV is subjective. You may like something that somebody else doesn't. But we can all be respectful and we can all enjoy the fact that we are fans of the same fandom. We are all fans of the DC universe and we want to see it continue. We want more DC projects. So let's all be good fans and talk about the things that we like. Talk about maybe what we didn't like, but in a respectful way. Make sure you share this video with all of your friends so they can be a part of this conversation as well. And then you're going to want to hit that like button. If you are enjoying the positive content and you want to see more positive content in your YouTube feed, then you're going to want to hit that like button to tell the algorithm that you don't want the negative content, that you actually want people to talk nice about the fandoms you love, that you want to see people talking about it the way that you want to talk about it, with excitement rather than with hate. So that being said, once you've done that, if you're liking our videos, make sure you hit that subscribe button, friends. And then you're going to want to hit that notification bell right next to it so you don't miss a single video we do. Because friends, at the end of the day, I know it and you know it. Fandom is family.